Yes, once again, we are back. You know it's your boy, the Godfather Tank D, back hitting you guys with another beautiful podcast about living black life and just, you know, the things that we kind of go through. I got a bunch of special guests tonight. This one is going to be super heavy, man. Of course, the first person I have to introduce is, you know, at this point, he just needs to be just a regular on the show. But you already know, man, it's my boy Ben Clapp, a.k.a. Playboy P, a.k.a. We Are Free Man.
Yo. All right, y'all, so we back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, now, the next guest I'm going to introduce is going to be a wonderful guest that we had last night who was just killing them. We got to give it up for her again. Please give it up for Tara Gray.
How you guys doing?
All right. Now, the next person I have to introduce is extremely special to me in my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for KeyRocks, a.k.a. Mrs. Gray.
What's good? How y'all doing?
All right, now this person is he has a very close relationship to my boy Ben Clapp. And I feel like it's only appropriate for him to do the introduction. So if you will please bless them and give them a nice introduction.
All right. Let's give it up for my best friend, my soul family, world-renowned spiritualist, cord-cutting ceremony class, having just a beautiful person inside and out. Let's give it up for Empress 9, Isabel Montero.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Yo, listen, I'm just like really glad to have all of you guys here tonight. So this show, you know, my boy Rick actually requested, he said this is something that we need to talk about. And it deals with black relationships and just kind of how we interact with each other. And the basis kind of came from the conversation that was had on the Breakfast Club with Fantasia. And a lot of it had to do with submission. And we briefly talked about that in the K. Michelle podcast, part 1 and part 2. But we're going to kind of dive heavy into that in this one. So I just want to recap, y'all. I'm going to play what Fantasia said, and then we're going to have a conversation. So check this out.
You know what I mean? We need more men to stand up and lead the way. Mm-hmm. Most women are trying to be the leader. Mm-hmm. That's why you can't find a man. You can't be the king in the house. Fall back and be the queen and let your man lead the way. So I salute you for that.
What does that mean? You can't be a leader? Because a lot of women look at it like, no, you know, I could lead in my household. I could do this in my household. What does that mean?
That's not how it's supposed to be, and that's why we bump heads. And I feel like it's a generational thing. And we could talk, we can go real deep on that, and I don't need to start that, but it's a generational curse. Mm-hmm. And how society have placed our men. Mm-hmm. And women have to stand up and be the mother and the father and the provider. And so then now you are so bad, you can't be told nothing, that when the right man come, you lose him because you're trying to be the man. I was finna say,
right,
man.
Mm-hmm. Can we be equal?
Oh, of course. Mm-hmm. But see, at the end of the day, I'm the neck, my man's the head. So he can't make any moves without his wife. You know what I mean? It all works together. But you can't be the head of the house. You got to let the man be the head of the house. But it's a generational thing, and it's what we've been taught. To stand up, be strong, be the, you know what I mean? And a dude come and everything about you is like a man.
Sometimes we have no choice, though.
But that's what I was saying. It's
right.
A generational thing, and that's what society has. They do that on purpose.
Mm. So you think women have to fall back a little for their man? Is that what you think?
You have to learn how to submit.
And we're going to pause it right there. So that was the basis of what Rick said. Yo, we need to address that as far as women learning how to submit. And I would say firsthand, this is something that is kind of looked down upon, because typically when we talk about submitting, we typically talk about someone being beneath you, almost in a slave-like position. But, you know, we definitely got to talk about the origins of where this whole concept comes from. Now, most of us on the podcast, we're not religious like that, but it would be untrue if we didn't say that a lot of this comes from a reference in the Bible. We're talking about Ephesians 5:22, verse 33, where it says, "Wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body of which is his Savior." I think this is the part that a lot of people kind of took it and flipped it into something that it wasn't necessarily supposed to be. I'm going to pass it to Rick. Rick, do you feel like it's important for women to submit to their men?
Wholeheartedly. But we have to, like you say, we have to put that word into context. And the reason why I say that is because when we talk about different words, due to, like Fantasia was saying, due to the way we've been conditioned to look at certain terms and certain words and certain terminologies and stuff like that, just saying certain words, it just put a negative taste in our mouth just because of the way we were brought up. You know, just like different words like polygamy and stuff like that. Even though there have been successful polygamous relationships, you know, when you go to the average black woman and you talk about polygamy, you know, it's like one of them things where it's like, oh no, you ain't finna have no multiple women that you just gonna be fucking and all of that stuff. So submission is kind of like that same thing. So I do feel like that as a man, you know, and I'm gonna say it like this: if you're a naturally masculine type of man and you exude that alpha energy, not only within yourself where she can feel that, but also in the things that you do, in the way that you carry yourself and things like that, submission from a woman in a balanced way is gonna happen naturally.
I feel you on that. Let's pass it to the women. So let's go to Isabel. What you think about that?
I have so much to say.
Let's talk about it.
All right, first of all, let's look up the etymology of submit. I already pulled it up.
I got
It's
you
to
right here
place
too.
oneself under control of another, to yield oneself. I don't know about y'all, but I remember when I was a kid, I did not like to submit to anybody. Not my parents, not no one. I didn't listen to nobody. Now, if they gave me good advice, and even as a kid, I would always ask why. So if somebody explained to me why, then I would be like, okay, that makes sense. I could rock with that, but I still was given a choice. Any person that would tell you to come up under them and then not sit here and give you or not work with you or not empower you or not want to give you your free will because I deal with everybody that I deal with. I look at them from the divine aspect. I'm not looking at you like a human. I'm looking at you like a sovereign being. So if you are a sovereign being, and I call it soul sovereignty, who are you to tell me to submit to you? And who am I to tell you to submit to me? Because then I'm asking you to be inauthentic to your uniqueness. And I just think that that's really a violation of someone's free will. Yes, we have to talk things out, work together, learn to agree at times, learn to agree to disagree at times. But in no way, shape, or form do I believe that a man or a woman is supposed to be submitting to each other. You're supposed to be acting like adults. To me, these are childish concepts. And I don't deal with childish things because I'm not a child anymore.
Now let's go back to the etymology of the word submit, okay?
Right.
You're correct in the sense where it says to place oneself under the control of another, to yield oneself, to yield, lower, let down, put under, reduce,
Yep.
under, let go, sin. But here's the most important part right here. The transitive sense of refer to another for consideration. That's a huge part that people are missing. Because when it comes to submitting, a lot of people, again, look at the first part of that. But if we go back, one of the things that it says is to refer to another for consideration. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Let's go to Tara. What you think about it?
First of all, I'm going to say this because I think, too, it is a generational thing. I am part of that 90s generation. We were told, hey, you're strong, you're beautiful, you're black, and that you go out here and you make it happen and you don't need a man. So for us, as we've gotten older, we realize that a lot of us got hoodwinked with that was a bunch of bullshit. Because at the end of the day, that's just not, since we want to talk about spiritually, that is really not the position of the woman. And that's why a lot of women are suffering, because spiritually we out here doing things that is really not really what we're supposed to be doing. And I'm not saying that we can't be strong. I'm not saying that we can't be out here running things. But when you are in a union with a person, just like when you are in a union with your job, because let's be honest, people submit to their job daily with no problem. Okay, they go up in there to do what the job tells them. They don't think about all their free will, because at the end of the day, you have the free will to leave. So you have the free will not to show up. You have the free will to do your job to the best of your abilities or not. But at the end of the day, you still have to come and submit to their regulations and their rule. So at the end of the day, not looking at your husband ruling, because neither one of y'all are ruling each other. Y'all have decided to come together. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, you're submitting to each other. There are things that you're going to bring to his table that he doesn't have. There's things that he's going to bring to your table that you don't have. And what it is a beautiful dance that a lot of us want to sit up here and fight. And when you're vying for control, somebody's going to lose in that. It just is. Versus, we're working together to make things happen. Because once you start having children, you start building a life, you have to figure out how you guys are going to make this work. And if somebody is always saying, you know what, I don't think submission, I think we got it twisted. We think submission is, you better do what I say, woman, and woman, you better do this, and woman, you better do that, because that is how little boys carry it. Real ass men know that, hey, I know when to back up, I know when to get ahead, because it's a thing where it's just like when you're driving a car. If we're driving across country to California, your man is crazy if he's going to do all the driving. 9 times out of 10, he's going to give you the will, hey, you do a couple hours, I'm going to do some hours, so we can get there together. So the thing is, I think for us, we look at submission as a bad thing. But the thing is, if you get the right man, that's truly covering you, and you are under the leadership of God, and your husband is doing what he's supposed to do, and you're doing what you're supposed to do, it can be a very beautiful thing. Right now, we're walking around with all this spiritual heaviness that's showing up into our physical bodies, because a lot of sisters now are getting diagnosed with lupus and all kind of, we're having emotional issues, we're having mental issues, we're having wound issues, because we're out here trying to do and handle things that we are really not built to handle. Because we're thinking that at the end of the day, we're giving up something. What are you giving up? You still can be your free loving self. You're not giving up anything if you're right with the right person.
That's true. Now let's go to the etymology of the word submission. Submission means, the first thing it says is act of referring to a third party for judgment or decision. And then it goes into the definition of submit. And then if you go down a little bit further, it says sense of humble obedience. Let me pass it over to KeyRocks. What you think about that?
I mean, I agree with your mom, because, at the end of the day, when I was growing up, it was all about your independent mindset as a woman and making sure that you can handle yourself. But once you grow out of that and you become an adult, that is a whole new avenue to, be a part of, especially if you're trying to be in a healthy relationship with another gentleman or whoever, you're trying to be with. But from my perspective, submission isn't what the modernized definition is, as you referred to earlier. for me,
that was the etymology.
no, I
That
know.
was the original
No,
meaning
I know,
of submission.
I know. I'm just saying, for me personally, it's not about that. It's more of like how you stated later on about humbleness, and being able to agree to disagree, or be on a equal level with one another, and know who can do what in the relationship. So, as for example, as your mom was stating earlier, if you give me the wheel for a little while, that's cool. Now you can rest, you can rejuvenate yourself, and then get back to what you need to get to. I mean, it's a give. It's a give when it's in a relationship, or even if you're not in a relationship, if you have somebody that is your best friend or something like that, and even in that aspect, there's some form of submission with that too. So in order for y'all to be friends for as long as you want. So I don't know, on my end it's just, I don't know, that's on my end is just that that word and how people see it today, it just doesn't agree with me.
Yeah, and I think that's the case for most people. It's the word in which is the problem. But like me and Rick was having a conversation a while back, and we were talking about submission, and one of the examples I gave was in music, when it comes to composition. So if I need like a nice orchestra composed, or I need a nice brass section composed, I'm going to reach out to Rick and I'm going to say, hey, can you do this? Because I know that in that particular aspect, he's better at that than me. So I submit myself to him so he can take care of that. The same way he would do the same to me when it comes down to, hey, I need something mixed, I need something mastered, I'm trying to bring these drums out. He know that that's my forte. In which case, when it comes to that, he is submit to me, which, kind of goes into the definition of what it means to be obedient, which is the practice or virtue of submission to a higher power or authority. And authority is the key word in that. And I think somewhere down the line, we started looking at submission in this way of slavery, where it's an absolute, where you're always under somebody at all times. And I don't think that's the case. I feel like there's certain situations where you submit and certain situations where you don't, because again, you have to have the authority for me to submit to you. So if I know that when it comes to getting something composed, Rick is the dude, then I'm going to submit to that because he has the authority to do that. I'm not going to just let some Joe do it because I know he's going to be whack at it. But that's just kind of my thought about it. Let's go back to Isabel real quick. Overall, when it comes to is it the word submission that you don't like, or is it the concept as a whole?
The thing is that how I look at things is that I'm looking at this word, and when you look at you can even go deeper and sub, to be under somebody, to be beneath. That means something is ruling over you. And we have so many people that will submit, and I'm talking about just on a greater level. In day-to-day life, right? If everybody is from the divine, say we all gods, say we all titans or whatever, if we're all from the divine, then that means that we're all equally powerful, but we may just have a different way of expressing that power. So the thing is I'm not submitting to you and you're not submitting to me. I'm recognizing the power that you have. You're recognizing the power that I have, and we're learning to work together. So it's not so much as submission, because neither person is underneath the other one. It's more like an interconnectedness, like understanding that we're all from the same place, understanding that all at the end of the day is one. Or you could even say all is zero, because really zero will be the void, and that would be pure potential. So the issue is, what people don't understand, your words create your world. So how you use your words will create the world around you. If I walk around saying I'm depressed and I'm sad and I'm this and I'm that, all the time, first of all, ain't nobody gonna want to be around me. Second of all, I'm giving away my power all the time. And third of all, I'm creating in my mind a filter to where now the only things that I'll notice in my reality is that sadness and that depression and that this and that. And opposite way, somebody who's very happy is going to keep getting happier, because they're going to notice all the good things, all the gifts, all the gratitude, all the love, all the wonderful people that they get to connect and enjoy. their life with, and really appreciating those people for who they are, truly. So it's not that I have an issue with people working with each other. It's that, is it really fair for one person to say that I'm above you or you're above me when we really all made from the same stuff anyway?
Well, I feel like there's always going to be higher degrees in certain things. I feel like that's just kind of the reality of certain things. Some people are going to be at a higher level in certain aspects. It doesn't mean that it's, that you're just the greatest,
well,
period.
Some people will be more adept because they know better, or some people have older souls, but that's cool because even if somebody knows something more than you, it doesn't mean that they're better than you. They just have more experience, more time in.
But that's the thing, though. If you have more experience and more time in something, which means that you understand it more, you are more fluid in it, would that not mean in turn that you're better at that person, at least at this moment?
It's pure potentiality says that anything could really happen. So I mean, you might be better at something, they might want to learn from you, but I'm saying that the vibration or the frequency of that particular word isn't really a good vibration or frequency if you want to feel empowered. And I wouldn't ask my partner I wouldn't ask my partner to submit to me. I would be like, how can we work together? How can we cooperate? How can we create something that is satisfying for all the parties involved, and not something where one person is now above the other, or it's a power struggle or some crazy shit. Like, instead, I would want to see, how can we create harmony? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think that it's about, and I think that's the disconnect. We just assume because we're saying we're submitting to our husbands that, oh, he's better. It is okay. The thing I have when it comes to words, because you can glamour with grammar, is the intent of the word. It's just like anything else. If I'm putting a spell on you, it's about the intent of what I'm doing. And the words that I use matter because I'm putting a certain intent on them. So when I use the word submit, if I'm using it with my man or my husband, I say, I'm not submitting to my husband, it's not a negative connotation for me because I don't take it that way. Now, if you use the word submit and you put that intention out, then there's going to be a negative connotation to you because that's the intent behind it, because the word has, according to y'all in the definition, has a negative and a positive effect. It all depends on what you're using it for. You know what I'm saying? With anything, you have certain things that, people who are practitioners, they can use certain herbs that have a negative and positive effect. It all depends on the intent that you're putting on it. The thing about it is everything you said is the same thing. You just don't really care for the word, because what you said, that's what submission is about how can we work together? What are we doing to make this happen? It's like Fantasia said, and she said it best. He is the head, I am the neck. The neck ain't submitting to the head and the head ain't submitting to the neck. But guess what? They have to work together because both of them serve a purpose. So you come into it, we both serve a purpose. At the end of the day, no woman wants to be with a man that at the end of the day, you want to know that he can handle that business. If something goes down and he can handle it. You don't want to be with a guy that you're like, okay, he ain't going to be able to take care of this. I know I got to take care of this. And I know he going to forget about this with the kids. And I still got to do this. You don't want him to basically fall in line with the children. Nobody wants that. So you still want a man that, you know what, if I decide when I walk in here and tell you that I'm pregnant, that, hey, you know what, I don't want to work for the first year or two, then he's like, okay, I got it. To me, I think that's a very powerful thing to know that you feel comfortable enough to know to say, when he tells you that he got it, he got it. We are so built and hell bent on feeling that, hey, I gotta be doing just as much as he's doing, otherwise he's thinking he controlling me. It's not about that. It's about like I said, it's about a dance. My girlfriend was working a job where she was being discriminated on. She went to the doctor. Her blood pressure was so high, she was almost getting ready to stroke out. In the daggone doctor's office, her husband said to her, "You quitting today? I got it." But in her mind, because like I said, we the 90s women, 90 women, we came up, we got to have our own job, pay our own bills. She been married for the longest. He was like, no, I got us. He know what he can do. He know I got us. She thinking she giving up something. She quit. because he was like, it's more important to me to have you here for me and these babies than for you to be at this job. Now, she was willing to go to work, high blood pressure, to submit to this white man every day with the BS, and scared to submit to her husband, who was like, no, I'm here to protect you and to cover you. So when she went on ahead and gave it up and stopped submitting to this white man and submitted to her husband, she found it was the best thing she ever did. Because at the end of the day, she was able to do really and truly, like you said, be creative and do her. She was able to explore different, businesses. She was able to raise her children and be there for them the way she wanted. And she realized that, hey, I was holding on to something, because let's keep it funky. The average one of us go and we submit to the white man every single day with no problem. But as soon as the brother talking about, hey, you know what, I got it, I got us, let me take care, we thinking we losing something. You know what I'm saying? And then they had one little issue where he was like, hey, when I come home, I would like, dinner or whatever. And she was like, well, I don't know. But I said, why not? You home all day. Why can't you give that honor to your husband and the fact that he's out there, he's making sure you straight, he makes sure your baby's straight? Why shouldn't he come home to a home cooked meal? What's wrong with that? We act like, doing stuff the way that our parents did it is something wrong. It's showing that she's less than. But what you fail to realize is that woman, that big mama, the way they used to do it, they was running everything, and they was handling everything, including their man. And their man respected them for what they were doing. We act like we losing face, if we are taking care of our man and taking care of our kids. You ain't losing nothing. Matter of fact, you gaining. Because you really can truly be who you want to be, because now you really have a space to be that. And that's just my thing. I just think that we getting it twisted. We thinking we losing something and we gaining everything. Because every woman that I know, once they man totally truly got them, handled, and they leave that corporate world and come on in, and hey, I'm taking care of the kids. I got to take care of my man, and I still have my own little business. And they can really be truly creative, they some happy women. All the women that I know, they happy. And they ain't lost nothing.
Yeah, so I agree with you. And also, just to go back a little bit, I feel like there is a huge difference between white submission in history and black submission in history. For us, it's not about us just giving up our whole lives and just being slaves to our husbands. It's more of, as you said, equality. Okay, we got each other. Okay, today I'm not able to do this, but can you step up and do X, Y, and Z for today? Okay, cool, I got you. To me, even it's really just not about, I hate when people say that. It's just it's not about you stepping on somebody else. It's really not. And even, for example, just to touch base with what you said, Tara, is even with me, a few times I had to be like, yo, I can't work here anymore, babe. Yo, what can we do? Let's get together. Where can we pull more finances, whatnot? It's nah, babe, don't worry about it. I got you. Leave the job. It's cool. And you move on. And he got it. He hustling. He's doing his thing so we can continue with our livelihood. But I got more respect for him because he was able to do that. In someone else's eyes outside of that territory would be like, yo, she just a deadbeat. Why she not doing this and why she not doing that? Because I'm trying to get myself together too. In order for me to get myself together and, be the queen that I need to be in my relationship, I gotta step back a little bit and let him be the king and take on whatever he needs to take on for that moment, and then move on from there.
Now, let me ask this question, because we're talking about women submitting, and I want to pass this to Rick. Do men submit to their women?
Hell yeah.
let me pass it to Rick real quick. What you think about that?
Look, man, at the end of the day, as much as we don't want to admit this, women have the power. Period. No city girl shit. Women have the power. No matter how much you bitch and moan and whine, if she don't want to give it up tonight, you ain't getting none.
I can't.
So yeah, there is a level of submission there
for the
But,
men.
Yeah.
And do you feel like it's appropriate?
It depends on how you use that power, because that can be put on both sides. See, going back to what Alexis was saying about the white version of submission versus the black version, which, since black people look at white people as God, you know, you kind of got the blurred line situation there. So you got black people, old school black people, like, yeah, you know, they look at submission the same way as the 1950s white woman and white man looks at submission. So it goes back to that. Now,
so are we stuck in this 1950s mindset when it comes to submission?
I truly think so. And people need to wake up, because it's not the 1950s. Women are out here graduating from college. They got degrees now. They got high positions. They got high economic positions. You got, I hate to say this, but you got more men getting funneled into the prison system than getting degrees now. So yeah, you know, as far as economics go, you have a lot more women that's in that breadwinner type of category than it used to be back in the day, when you had the man who was pretty much going out working in the factory, coming home, bringing home the bacon, and then the woman, you know, at the house taking care of the kids, and then she cook and clean and all of that. You know, it's not like that no more. And you got so many people that want to go back there, and they won't you know, upgrade their levels of thinking. Because going back to what I was saying, the reason why, because I remember Isabel was saying something about sub, and how sub means to be under, and sub reminds me of the dominatrix, not dominatrix, but the BDSM. That's what it is. In the BDSM community, a sub is the woman that's in that submissive type of situation, and then you got the dom, which is, you know, the man, or if she's LGBT, then it'll be a stud or something like that. And the dom will be the one that's the dominant one. And the sub, she's kind of like the pet. You know, she's kind of like the pet. She's kind of like the slave, you know, in that type of BDSM type of relationship, where you got the man with the leash on her, and she's barking like a dog, and all of that crazy shit.
That sounds like some slave stuff right there.
Right,
That's
but again,
crazy.
where did that come from? White people.
Yes,
I got
exactly.
So
Because when you
that
look
was a lot to unpack. Go ahead.
because when you look at submission from a non-melanated Anglo-Saxon, non-connected with the universe type of situation, submission to them is about domination.
That's heavy right there. I think we need to hit him with the
That's why I said
pump.
partnership, not submission.
Yeah, that's
Because-
heavy though.
Well,
Go ahead, Isabel.
So the reason why you got so many of these men go, and these men are brilliant. First and foremost, I'm gonna say this. First and foremost, black men are fabulous, brilliant. Some of the best fathers I ever seen in my life. I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, but I grew up in the hood. Black men were always the best fathers that I seen. Always picking up the kids. Always seeing what their wife need. Always, you know what I mean? Involved. So
Shout out to the good brothers out there. Just saying. Shout out to the good brothers. We don't hear that a lot, so you know I appreciate that. Seriously.
what had happened in I believe it was in the 70s, when the government started giving out welfare. If I'm not mistaken.
Wait. The government didn't start giving out welfare in the 70s. They started giving out welfare back no. Government started giving out welfare when they had the first stock market crash. White folks got welfare first. When they gave it out to us, when we were able to get it in the 60s and 70s.
It was the 60s and 70s, but that's what I'm talking about, around that time frame. From what I know from history is you had to have your man out the house to get that. You couldn't have no man there, from what I'm aware of. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I don't like to really give wrong information.
No, you're right.
But that
age where you couldn't have a man in the house. They didn't allow, and there were certain things that if you did have one, you had to report you were dealing with one.
Exactly. So basically the government, this is a concerted effort to take the Black man out of the household. And that's really something that not enough people acknowledge and are not aware of. And that's the reason why now all this healing is happening at this time, because that division, Black men were never the type to tell a woman to submit to them and all this stuff. That wasn't natural. It was more of always a partnership with the men and the women. If anything, it was more matriarchal, honestly.
Yeah.
That's not a melanated thing. That's a European thing. That's the colonizers thing. So that's really what had happened. That's how now you have the issues that you have, is because of the government stepping in and then separating the man out of the house. And now the woman is not really protected or not in a space of strength.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It sounds like, to be honest, that all of us on here agree the difference is just semantics in the words in which we're using. But for the most part, we all agree that for any relationship that we're in, there needs to be some type of balance that's involved. And there's always going to be some type of give and take. It isn't, this person is at 10 all the time and this person is on 1. There's always going to be a shift depending on, what's going on. Are we all in agreement on that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So now let me get into this question. So with that being said, being that there's some type of give and take there, do you feel like 50-50 relationships work? Is that a real thing? Let me pass it to KeyRocks real quick.
From experience, that just don't work. Well, I mean, I would say it depends on the type of relationship you're in, because sometimes for some people 50-50 works, where it's 50% the man is doing what he need to do and the 50% the woman is doing what she needs to be doing, and there's no extra in between. And I'm gonna reference my relationship a lot because that's the history that I have currently that I've been stepping through. But like, I know with me or my relationship, it's not. It's more like it depends on the day or it depends on the situation. Aaron could have 80 and I could have the other portion. So I mean, it all depends on what the scenario is. But at the end of the day, I know women are women all the time, where it's they want to have an equal share and equal right in everything. And it's like, why can't we be of certain equality in whatever we're doing? Just like how they always say, like, oh, if a man could do construction, why can't we do construction? Or if we're hopping off a cliff or whatever, why can't we do that? Or whatever the case may be. Not all the time it's needed. It just depends on the situation.
So what you think about that, Tara?
Teddy P told you a long time ago. It's either 70-30 or 60-40.
I was sure going to say that.
Right. I was trying to remember what that was. But yeah.
Okay, I know y'all are a little older than the rest of y'all, but Teddy Pendergrass told you a long time ago, there's no such thing. Somebody's going to always do more. And the thing is, and the trick is that they made us think as women that men were above us and we weren't equal to the truth. The truth of the matter is, men need to catch up with us. See, when they talk about the equality that you need to actually catch up is with women. Because let's be honest, the average woman is running her household. She's probably working a job, making sure the kids are straight, know where your stuff is and everything else, and everything 9 times out of 10, she's running it. So at the end of the day, what's 50-50? He's paying bills, but you still, if you let's keep it honest, if we so-called doing 50-50, and most people say 50-50 is usually in the finances. So if I'm paying half the bill, but I'm still going out here buying clothes for the kids, buying clothes for you probably, buying the food, still coming in, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm doing a lot of stuff. Where is the 50-50? Because you're not going to split everything down. You're just not. It's just not going to happen that way. Someone's going to be doing more. That's just is. So we can keep trying to do this 50-50 thing, and it is not a bad thing. It's a thing of how your household runs best. me personally, when, Aaron grew up in my house, when me and his father was together, it was certain things Tara didn't do. Like I said, when I went to the grocery store, I didn't bring in no groceries, but I brought in the bag with the bread and some eggs. Them groceries would sit in that car and rot before I would go out there and get groceries. I didn't take out garbage. I didn't take my car places. I didn't do those things. Those were things that he handled. But when it came to that household, I made sure that there was food in the house. I made sure that he was straight. I made sure that, my mate was straight. I made sure that everything that needed to run like it needed to run in that household ran like it needed to run. But at the end of the day, there was no 50-50. It just wasn't. He had to handle, sometimes you got these particular bills. I may have the smaller bills, but at the end of the day, it's not a whole straight up 50-50, because at the end of the day, if you put it down and we measured it and we did tiki points, I was doing way more in the household than he was. So it's all about how things are run and what works for your partnership. And sometimes it could be the man doing more. It's not always the woman. It could be the man doing more.
That's real talk. Isabel, what you think about that?
I think that's right on target, honestly, from my perspective. And I just think it's so just to break people down to numbers. Like there's so many layers to a relationship alone. You know what I mean? You got the emotional stuff. You got just the day-to-day mundane stuff. You got kids. You got bills. You got this and that. It's just one person might be giving 80 in one area, and then somebody else might be giving 80 in another area, because relationships are like that. People are not one-dimensional.
That's real talk. What you think, Rick?
Yeah, going back to what Isabel was saying, that I really think when we start trying to analyze it with numbers and stuff like that, that's when we fuck up. Because when you try to analyze things with numbers, you try to make things absolute in a way to where you expect this amount like every single time. And when you're dealing with humans, it's never gonna be nothing that's gonna be absolute spot on every single time. It's virtually impossible. And as far as the way I can only speak to my situation. I can only speak to how I was raised with my mom and dad. The way our situation was, my mom and dad, they were both working. My mom had the potential to get, a higher paying job, but she had to sacrifice, because since my dad was already working 8, 9, 10 hours, my mom, she had to sacrifice and get a job working at a school, being a cafeteria cook or whatever, where she could have been like a major chef, because my mom, like, she has degrees and she can cook and stuff like that. But she did that because, when I get off from school and my little brother get off from school, she gets off from work. So that was the give and take that my mom and dad had to do, because my mom didn't want me in no after school care, in no daycare, and over this person's house and over that person's house and all of that stuff. So they had to make sacrifices and stuff like that in order for me and my little brother's family dynamic to work. And that's something that if you're being honest, about your family situation, I know that everybody here, their mom and dad had to make some type of sacrifices in order to better raise, you as a child coming up. And that's just how it is. And it's not always 50-50, because even though my dad's check was a lot bigger than my mom's check, my mom's contribution to the whole, to our family as a whole, my mom's contribution was just as great, if not greater, than my dad, even though he was out there slaving for 8, 9, 10 hours, working his ass off, coming back home tired and all of that. But what good had that been if he didn't come home to a bath, come home to me and my little brother sleep, come home to that peace and that harmony and that good meal and all of that stuff, so he can go out the next day, recharged and refreshed. So instead of looking at the numbers, which it'll never be 50-50, that's a fairy tale. It's all about the contribution to make the whole greater.
Now when you talk about the contribution, Okay, I feel like it's important for us to ask what benefit are you bringing to the relationship? And we kind of touched on that a little bit in the K. Michelle interview, where we asked, you know, if you're not really bringing anything to the table, you know, is it even worth pursuing? But if you're in a relationship with somebody, is it important for us to define what benefits you're bringing to the relationship as well as what role you're bringing to the relationship? Let me pass it to KeyRocks.
I mean, at the end of the day, I really feel like every woman, when you're looking, and again, I'm speaking from a woman's perspective, every woman, whenever they're looking for a mate, they're always looking for the specific qualities that they need. Again, the roles that they need in their life, and if that person is going to be that forever for their life. So I believe, yes, that is something that is, you know, important for a relationship. Roles can vary for a person. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a short answer, but yeah, I do agree that is something that you need.
All right, let's pass it to Isabel. What you think about that?
What was the question again?
Do you feel like it is important for you to bring a benefit to the relationship, and also is it important for roles to be defined in the relationship?
Okay. I don't believe that any person doesn't have value. Now, as far as a relationship goes, I think that once people sort of feel each other out, then they can kind of for themselves in their relationship figure out which roles each of them are playing. And there should be a conversation about that. Because that's where, you know, if you don't have a conversation about, okay, I need you to do this, or if you can't communicate effectively, that's sort of when people get into arguments or feel like they don't have their needs met, or, you know, that's when you have problems, and that's when you have problems and issues. I don't think that you can define roles right away, however, and I don't think that any person, I don't believe that any person doesn't have value. It's just, is that the right person for what, you know, or is there going to be the right synergy between you and that other individual? That's how I would look at it, more or less.
And do you feel that same way about a toxic person? If you're in a relationship with someone who either is or becomes toxic, do you still feel like that person has some type of value to you?
Now, I have in the past. Let me tell you, I was married and divorced. And then I had a man for about 4 years. And then I left him, and I left both of them, as a matter of fact, because for me personally, I follow my joy and my happiness. And the issue always is a lack of communication and an unwillingness to understand the other person's perspective. And even to some extent on my end, but to a greater extent, because I'm always the type of person that tries to keep the relationship together, like no matter what. Because I don't make that I don't take that decision lightly. So for me specifically, that person still has value, but we're no longer communicating effectively, and you're no longer willing to try and understand my perspective. So as much as I'm trying to understand your perspective, so at that point, it's time for me to go.
Look, I'm with you on that. How you feel about that, Tara?
I'm sorry. Reiterate, because like sometimes you forget what. So I can make sure I can answer this correctly. Reiterate the question.
So the question was: is it important for you to bring a benefit to the relationship, and also is it important for you to, for you guys to define a role in a relationship, so you know what that person's role is?
I think that as a relationship grows, the roles get defined on their own.
Hold on, we're getting something weird with your audio right now. You sound a little staticky. Sounds.
How about now? Is that okay?
Say something again.
Is that okay?
That's better. Y'all hear anything weird? We good? We back? Okay. All right, let's get it.
I think that I think over time, depending on your relationship, because everybody's relationship is different, the roles kind of define themselves. I believe in true to the traditional gender roles. So it's certain things that when I'm looking for a mate, it's certain things that I'm looking for. I need to see is he's going to handle certain things for me. Like for me, it's very important to have someone who can fix things. That's important to me. You know what I'm saying? I like to know that they can take care of my car and they can take care of certain things around the house. That's important to me. I think that, that to me is a benefit. Being able to have a conversation with you and intellect is very important to me. That's a benefit. What I don't do, because as you get older and dating, you look at dating a little differently. A lot of people say, you meet somebody and I really like them and you feel good, but you notice that there's a lot of red flags with this person. Well, they don't really ask me anything about myself. They don't really seem to be concerned about what's going on with me, but, we can talk and we can have fun. But if they're not fulfilling your core needs, then at the end of the day, there's no point in me dealing with you anymore, however you may make me feel. Because if you're not giving me what I need, for me to feel complete in a relationship, there's no point in me being with somebody who at this moment you make me feel good and I enjoy being with you. But all these red flags, let's keep it honest. After a year or two, because that's usually when the euphoria wears off, then I realized that I can't stand the fact that, you never asked me about my day. I can't stand the fact that, hey, I'm looking for you as the man that when my car needs service and for you to take it in and handle that for me. And you looking at me like, no, you got it. I don't need to do all that, or when I have an issue or a problem, you're like, well, what do you want me to do? Those types of things, we need to understand what you're looking for so that at the end of the day, they can fulfill, a particular role that you're looking for them to fulfill and give you the certain benefits that you're looking for. Because everybody's benefit, threshold is different. For some people, their benefit could be as long as she's pretty and, she handles the business like I want, I'm good. Other guys like, no, I remember Aaron said when he was a kid, because, I wasn't a big cook, I need a woman that can cook. That was a benefit. A woman couldn't cook with him, and you make me that, but I didn't know if you could cook. So it's all about your core needs, which in turn means how am I benefiting from you in this relationship? Because even when it just comes not to just, to me, romantic relationships, even now, I'm looking at friendships. If you're not benefiting me as a friend, when you're making me better, or iron and sharpen iron, what's the point of you? For me just to hang out with you and we just chill, okay, whatever. At this point, I need somebody you benefit me and help me exceed in some area in my life. And if you're not doing that, to me, we just wasting time.
Let me pass it to Rick real quick.
Okay, so I really like this question because I talked about this in a podcast where I was talking about for a man, this is the reason why that when you're looking for when you're looking to attract a woman to you for a certain reason or for a certain thing, this is the reason why you can't lead with your dick. This is why you can't lead with looks. You can't lead with, oh, how does she make me feel in the bedroom and all of this other stuff. You have to have that CEO type of mindset when you deal with anything. When you deal with life, when you deal with women, when you deal with business, all of that, because at the end of the day, it's supposed to be a partnership. And the thing about it is, it's not about defining a role. It's more of you have people around you, women around you that's compatible with whatever you got going on, and let them be them. So, for example, me, I have a company called Melly Amar Jewelry and Gemstones and Apparel. In a little while, I'm going to start looking for models, for my apparel, part of my brand. So instead of me going, to the library and getting an anime chick or whatever who may be camera shy or whatever, just because I like her and I feel like she'll be good or whatever, but she may not be that type of person, I can go and get that woman that I met at the club. Now, she may not be a good wife or something like that, but for my business, because of her body, because of the way she looks, because of, different things like that, she'll be perfect for my business. She'll be perfect for that. But see, it's up to us men to be able to have those interactions and be able to spot that about a woman and just let her be her. And Tariq Nasheed talked about this too. Not every woman that you deal with, you have to have a sexual relationship with. Sex is the lowest form of communication. Even though it's the highest form of creation, it's still the lowest form of communication. So not every woman that's on your team, that's in your circle, you need to be having sexual relations with. You know, you may have, you know, just like the relationship between me and Isabel. You know, she's my soul family. You know, I come to her and she's able to give me different spiritual advice that I can't really get from nobody else unless I'm paying them, or unless, you know, things like that. And then I got another woman, and you know, we may just talk about anime, or we might just talk about nerdy stuff, and that's our relationship. And then I have that one woman that I have sex with, and then we have the sexual chemistry. But, you know, not every woman in my circle that, you know, that has that role, that's just them being them. Not every one of those women that I'm having sex with, neither I want to have sex with. Some of the women that I talk to, they're in relationships. And I know their dudes know that I'm talking to their girl, and it's cool because we have that type of connection, you know. But it goes to, are you going to be a grown man about the situation, or are you just going to keep, you know, looking at the lowest form of communication as your basis to wanting to be in a relationship with somebody?
I mean, I'm sorry to cut you, but I mean, honestly, I agree with all y'all. But at the end of the day, it comes back to what your needs are as the individual. And as the individual, if you are either hungry for somebody to feed your mind or something like that, you look for somebody in that aspect, or you have people gravitate to you that have that aspect for you. You may not know that it's happening, but it's gonna happen. And at the end of the day, it's very important to make sure, and back to what you guys were saying, that you have that communication with that person, because even if it's a friend or you're trying to be in a relationship with that person, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you guys need to communicate. You need to talk. You need to find out what her likes are, what her dislikes are, what his likes are, what his dislikes are, or whatever the case may be, what he likes to do. And, you know, if he likes to fix cars or something like that, that might be something that's great for you as a woman, because that's not your forte. Or, you know, somebody who's in IT or something like that might be the woman's gift, and the man, that's just not what he does. So if he has a question about his cable or something like that, or internet, he's gonna go to you first about it. But that goes back to your strengths and weaknesses and whatnot in that relationship, or your roles and your interests and whatnot. So at the end of the day, it just depends. It depends.
So going off of the communication though, is it important for you to know what it is that you want and what you're looking for in a relationship? So before you even get into anything serious, that's already understood that this person has what I'm looking for, and this person fulfills whatever need I have.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to, for you to be able to pinpoint somebody as such and know exactly what you're trying to do, you need to get into yourself, and you need to find yourself and work on yourself first in order to get to that point. So once you work on yourself first, then you'll be able to answer those questions that you need answered and get to the person, or gravitate that person to you for the completion that you're looking for.
So let me pass this to Tara. So when it comes to working on yourself and that process that it actually takes to do that, because that's something that's very difficult, do you feel like that's something that should be done before the relationship, during the relationship, after the relationship is over? When do you feel like that should happen, and how important is that when it comes to relationships?
In all three. You should always be working on yourself. You should definitely, make sure that before you go out here, say if you just had a breakup, you definitely want to work on yourself to get yourself into a certain mindset, so you're not attracting a certain type of energy to yourself. So you want to work on yourself after a relationship. You want to work on yourself before a relationship. You definitely want to work on yourself during a relationship, because the thing about it is, for a lot of people, sometimes if you're at a certain state, okay, and then you really start working on yourself, you start realizing, because we all do it, as we work on ourselves and improve ourselves, there's certain people you just outgrow. There's certain people that you find you can't even stand to be around anymore, because you're not having that same thought process. You're not vibrating on that same level that they're vibrating on. So it is always important to be working on yourselves at all times. And then certain things, when you're in a relationship, because of the level of intimacy, sometimes you can, raise your vibration to help raise someone else's vibration. Or you can find that, hey, maybe this person is really not for me, and then you may have to move on. But yes, you should work on yourself before, during, and after a relationship. Always, always, always working on yourself, because you always want to be your best self, and you need to require anybody that's coming to you to be their best self, wherever that may be for them at that time. I've had a guy who said to me, hey, if I was asked you to marry me today, would you marry me? No, because I'm getting the short end of the stick. You getting the best me, but I ain't getting the best you, because you have a lot of stuff you need to work on that you're not working on. So why would I take you when you getting the best me? No, we're not doing that.
And then
we're not doing that.
And then see at the end as well, even for the guy, because a woman might see something that the guy didn't see in themselves, and they might bring it to their attention that, hey, let's communicate, and let me let you know that this is a situation that needs to be handled. Even if we stay together or not, this is something that you need to work on for yourself, so you can be a better man in any other relationships, or if we continue, we can be better as one in the relationship we're in. So yeah, no, I agree with Tara.
Isabel, how you feel about that?
What was the question?
It was, basically she was just saying. Go ahead.
I agree completely. Honestly, with the whole working on yourself at all times, like, if you're not growing, you're dying. And sometimes through your growth, you have aspects of yourself that die. And that's okay. You gotta shake that off. You just gotta shake it off. It's called ego death for a reason.
That's heavy.
And so you let that die so that a new part of you can grow. And this is why it's also important to choose a partner. Look, I done made up a new word, important. But this is why it's important to choose a partner that has the same mind frame of, well, for me specifically, because the partner I chose, we like the same person essentially. But we both have a mind frame of continuously growing. And the way that you let somebody into your soul like that, it's like the hardest thing I really have ever done. Because I never let nobody in that deep to where they just know everything about you. They know the things about you that you don't even know about yourself. It gets deep.
Yeah, but I think that's something that a lot of people are afraid of. To really let someone get that deep and really let someone in to that level, because that's going back to the K. Michelle thing, that's that wall, and to climb that, or to destroy it, really, because that's what you would have to do. Let's just be 100. But to destroy that wall requires a lot of work and a lot of effort. But the thing about it is, it's not something that can be done by a single person. Both parties involved have to participate in destroying that wall, so we can actually get to that inner self.
Right. It's like taking down each other's walls brick by brick.
Right. And the other thing is, it takes time to do that. And most people don't want to put in the work to do that. They don't want to put the time in. After 6 months, they're like, all right, well, if you ain't got it together, then, I can't just deal with you no more.
Right.
Right.
And that's where compassion comes in.
Right. And I mean, even from, just as a woman as well, we put up the guard every single time something happens in a relationship. Some form of a guard goes up, whether it's one brick or 15. That's just what's going to happen. And sometimes it takes the right person to actually be able to see more than what you see. And in order for you to really come to terms on who you are, you need to allow that person in and give them the respect that's needed in order for you to grow and become the diamond that you are. So, I mean,
Nah, I'm with you. I feel that, and I feel like that work again has to be done on both sides, because there's a lot of hurt men out here that's just creating damaged females because they haven't dealt with themselves the same way there's a lot of women who, are hurting men. That was actually something that Rick brought up last night, where he was basically saying that, you have some good dudes out here that are dating your K. Michelle's of the world, and now they're turning bitter and they're like, well, you know what? Forget these women, forget this, forget that. And it's like, nah, like you have to work on yourself. You have to heal from that. Going back to what Tara said, the work has to be done before, during, and after.
Yeah. And that's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to do the work, and a lot of people know what most people want is they want you to do the work for them. I can't
Hold on. We gotta hit him with the pump on that one. We gotta hit him with the pump.
Step out for a minute. What happened?
I can't.
Basically, she was saying that the other person, they want you to do the work for them.
Right.
They don't want to do the work for themselves. They want you to do the work for them. They don't want to have to put no work in.
And that don't happen. Like, you gotta work on you. Like, you gotta find out what your situation, your problems are, so you can advance from there. And if there's something that somebody can help you work together on or something like that, then fine. But nah, like, you gotta do you, just like how you have to do your own homework. Like, come on.
I think that we don't know ourselves until somebody else sees us.
Right.
That's heavy. That's heavy too. That's heavy. That's real talk though, because sometimes another person can act like a spiritual mirror to yourself, which is why sometimes people get in front of somebody and they instantly dislike them because they remind them of themselves.
Oh, you had to give yourself a
God, really?
See, that's what happens when you are in control of the board. You can give yourself the pump. But yeah, I know Rick wanted to say something. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to Rick.
All right, so y'all talking about inner work?
Absolutely.
Oh man,
And how important that is.
Oh man, I talk about this all the time. Get to know your inner child 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And by the way, let me hold on. Wait, we got to do this. Just in case you guys are wondering, he is talking about his podcast series that he has on his page that you can find at Mr. Bandclap TV. Or I'm sorry, Bandclap TV. Make sure you go to YouTube, check out his page, check out that podcast. You're gonna love it. Back to our show.
And see, talking about from a woman's perspective, and I said this before, every woman is a single mother. Every woman is a single mother. And I remember when I said that, people was like, huh?
Yeah, you're gonna have to break that down for me, man. I missed that podcast.
Every woman is a single mother. What
How's
do you
every
mean?
woman a single mother? Let's talk about
And
it.
I said that the reason why every woman is a single mother, because the first child that you're gonna have to learn how to nurture and get to know is your inner child. Because and then after you get to know your inner child and you learn about that self-love, you learn about that divine motherly type of love. So now when you get into a relationship outside of your inner child, you get into a relationship with another man. Now when you love that man, you're gonna naturally love that man like a grandmother. So it goes back to us men. What are the three things that we want out of a woman? you know, and this kind of goes across the board. We want a woman who can A, love us like a grandmother, 2, understand us like a brother and sister, and 3, in the bedroom, be able to call us daddy. That's how it is. You know, those are the 3. And Sister Myra talks about that too. Shout out to Sister Myra, one of our older queens out there, still giving that conscious knowledge. She talked about the 3 relationships: the grandmother and the grandson, the mother and the son, and then you got the brother and the sister. And you know, for us as being in the relationships and stuff like that, you know, we all crave those 3 dynamics of a relationship.
I'm gonna have to give you a little bit of pushback on that one. I agree with the concept as a whole, but there's a couple of things in there for me that I just can't agree with. One of which is one of the last things you said, which was, you know, a man wants his woman to call him daddy in the bed. I could be the weird oddball, but to me, I don't like that. And it could be because I know those words really well, and it could be because for me it's almost as if it's a molestation thing for me. So it's weird. Like seriously, if you ask my wife, I do not like her calling me that. I just don't. And I think the idea of men who want to be called that, or women who call men that, I think there is something else going on to a degree. Like, I understand how it could be sexual. I get it. But for me, it's weird.
I mean, but see, for some people, it's not even the word. It's more of the meaning behind it for them in the relationship.
Right.
You know what? Wait, I want to
I use it all the time. I find it is a very good defensive thing.
Hold on,
you want to
wait.
break a man down and get him do what you want to do. Use that word daddy or poppy, and you can get what you want.
You know what?
Exactly.
You're right. So you know, I'm gonna retract my statement. Okay, yeah. All right, y'all got me. Yeah. Okay, y'all got me. Okay. So let me explain. I thought about it. For me, I don't like the English version. So like, if you call me daddy, don't do that. That's weird. But if you call me poppy,
Hey, papi.
that's different. So you know, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Rick. Let me apologize. Please give a round of applause to Rick for getting it right the first time. I will take the L on that one.
Because it goes back to what I was saying on the last podcast about knowledge is power, and it goes back to.
Hello?
Yeah, we're here. We live.
Oh, you said something, Isabel?
Did we lose her?
Oh no.
Oh, let's see. Technical difficulties.
Is everybody here?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
here. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rick.
So it goes back to when I say that for a man, your masculinity and your alpha essence, if it's in a divine way, you know, it should be in your knowledge. You know, knowledge is power. And it goes back to when we're in a relationship and we're looking for that relationship, we're not supposed to be looking for someone to complete us. We're supposed to already be in tune with our masculine and our feminine inside of ourselves. So when we go out and look for that divine partner, that partner isn't supposed to do nothing but add to what we already are. It's kind of like when Batman put on the bat suit. Bruce Wayne is already that dude. But when he put on that bat suit and be Batman, all of those gadgets, it just adds to what he already is. So, you know, you have a lot of broken women out there and they don't know themselves. You know, they may be in that toxic masculinity, or they may be too feminine to where they'll be in docile, abusive type of relationships and stuff like that. And they'll be like, oh, I'm looking for a man to complete me and all of that type of stuff. And they run across a trickster. You know, they run across a somebody who knows their way around a woman's body. They run across somebody who knows those levers to pull and those buttons to press and all of that stuff. And they can give her that feeling of euphoria that she doesn't know how to generate herself. And when it's time for that dude to leave, now she's devastated because she feels like half of her that she was looking for to complete, now half of that is gone, and she haven't done that inner work yet. So that's where you got these women that get crazy. They get crazy and they get clingy and all of this type of stuff. So all of that ties into that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Let's hear from the women. Let's pass it to Isabel.
Yeah, I was gonna add to actually what Rick just said, because that was so well said. You think that, and you said something very key, where you said a woman that's very feminine would allow a man to sort of take advantage of her. Now, I think the reason why a woman like that would feel like she lost half of herself is because she hasn't been cultivating her masculine half. She hasn't been balancing out the energies. Yo, the way you said that was beautiful, because it just perfect. So because she hasn't been balancing out that energy, she was experiencing the masculine energy through the man that she was with.
Wow.
Instead of, being whole within herself. So that goes back to really what Rick was talking about when he was talking about really cultivating wholeness.
Yeah, that's heavy. Let's go ahead, Rick.
And I was just gonna say that's not something that's really talked about in the mainstream, because you don't really have like and I talk about this in my podcast about the Orishas and stuff like that. You don't have a lot of Obananis out there, who's out there in social media really holding those seminars and teaching women how to be holistic and stuff like that. And the thing about it is you have them, but you have too many broken women out here, and misery loves company. So it kind of drowns them out. And I feel like that there should be more of a balance in that type of thing. And I just hate it when a lot of women, when they hit the wall, as far as their looks and stuff like that, when they hit that wall, and that's when they start going on those stages of enlightenment and finding that wholeness within themselves, and then they turn out to be your motivational speakers and stuff like that. But I really wish that we had things set in place to where we can teach that to our young women when they're just getting into that that type of state, whether it's once they reach puberty or whatever, and start teaching them how to find that wholeness within themselves at that age. So once they get in their mid 20s and stuff like that, they already have that super mature Obanani type of mindset, to where they'll be able to be that type of figure to that divine masculine man.
I mean, but that even goes back to your community. And in order for people to be able to have that or be able to grow that, you need a balanced community around them, or around the mother and father or something like that. So at the end of the day, it really is about the community. And the community needs to be able to come together and understand that first themselves before they can even teach or build up the next generation with that.
Yeah, absolutely. What you think about it, Tara?
Let me say this. I want to go back to the feminine that we were talking about earlier. Personally, I think the problem, especially in the African American community, is that there isn't enough feminine. We focus way more on our masculine, especially as women, than we do on our feminine. And just because a woman is feminine doesn't mean she's going to be taken advantage of. Because if we want to be honest, I find most of the women who get the abuse and all of that stuff be very in their masculine. AKA Michelle. Okay, she's very in her masculine, and she was in an abusive relationship because she was so busy, because I think to be in an abusive relationship, it has nothing to do whether you're feminine or you're masculine. Let me just say that. I think it has something to do with your level of self-esteem and your self-worth. Point blank, period. And I think that when you get more into your feminine and you carry things in such a way Because when you look at the Queen of Fuas, you know what I'm saying, and all those type of people, you know what I'm saying, Ashfaq Quasi's wife, they are very in their feminine. I remember speaking to Ashfaq Quasi one time when they came to Norfolk, and he talked about how he doesn't raise his voice. He never has to raise his voice to his wife, and she doesn't raise her voice to him. You know what I'm saying? Professor James Small, the same thing with his wife. They're in their feminine because they have men that put them there and make them feel safe in being there. To me, you know what I'm saying, you're going to always have a level of balance of your masculine because you have to use it in this world that we rock in. But in relationships, to me, I don't think there's anything wrong to be totally and completely in your feminine. Because when you are, to me, you are in the most powerful position that you could ever be. We want to believe power lies in the masculine, but it doesn't, okay? Because it's like we were talking about earlier, because when I go to my man and say, listen here, daddy, you know, there's an issue with my car. You know, can you handle that for me? What you think he about to do? When I tell that man, you know what, baby, I appreciate you so much. You know, you just take care of this house, the way you take care of me, the way you make me feel. I love you so much. Thank you so much, Big Daddy. I thank you. You think he ain't going to move mountains for me? We think that being hard is what men want. Men want somewhere soft. The reason why, you know, when you said the thing about a man wants a woman to love him like his grandma, you know why you say that? Because you want that woman that you can lay your head in her lap and she's going to stroke your head and make you feel, you know what I'm saying, like that little boy for the moment, but still a man, a man incomplete. The thing about it is you a little boy in that moment, but you still a man because your woman is just making you feel better. She letting you know it's okay. You can rest here with me. You can get peace here with me. And the thing about it is we don't understand that is power. You want to be, I don't want to stand and do construction with them. I'm in a business where I work in construction daily and I still walk in there in my feminine. I ain't picking up now a tool. I ain't picking up now a bucket. I ain't doing none of that. If I have to, I'm mad about it. And I make more money than every man that I'm standing there working with. But at the end of the day, I stay in my feminine. And guess what? I don't have to, because they run into my rescue. I got you. Let me, you cool. I'm good. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that right there, to me, is the biggest farce that women fall for, especially sisters. The reason why our men keep running to other races of women because they're getting that feminine that they're not getting here. They need that. When you are the man where everything is on your shoulders and coming at you and you are being barreled down on a daily basis, you need somewhere where you can lay your head and you know it's okay. She's not another person coming at you with another issue, another problem. You know, if she's coming at you about something, it's truly an issue. But 9 times out of 10, when you come home, she got you. She can give you peace. Bottom line. And I think that we need to get more in our feminine, and we need to teach our girls to be more in their feminine. That is what men need. That's what we need. Because when you are in that space, it's just a much more, to me, natural, more expressive, just more, you could just be more who you are. We got too many people who don't even want men telling us how we need to carry it as women. Help me out with that.
So let me ask you this question. So how do we help our women get back into their feminine and our men get back into their masculine? What's the steps to that?
Well, I listened to a young lady by the name of April Mason. And one of the things that she did was she took the time, you know, to really start listening to books, researching, and this, that, and the third, and actually going to other races of women and talking to them about how they are in their feminine. And the thing I think we need to do is, as women, to realize that it's not a bad thing. We need to stop talking about I'm strong and independent. You know what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is, as Black women, we're resilient, and you want to be interdependent of your person, of your mate, however that may be and however that may look for you. The thing about it is, because when you say you're strong, you're independent, what you're saying is I don't need nothing and nobody. So you can't get mad when somebody don't come to your rescue, when somebody's not taking care of you, when somebody's like, okay, you got it, you can handle the kids, you can handle the house, because you keep telling people that you can do that. Because like I say, you know, saying words, you put out spells with your words. And that's a spell that like I said, we have been glamored with grammar, that we have been put this words and these words that we keep saying to each other. We need to stop that, because even as women, we can't even be vulnerable with each other. You know, we can have a moment, we have a fight with our man, and we won't tell our friends that, you know what, girl, he said this to me and it really hurt me, and you know, and I didn't say anything back. I just kind of cried about it. I just didn't even say nothing to him. No, we talked to our friends, girl, no, I had to let him know because he ain't gonna be talking to me like that. And that's not what happened. But we're not gonna tell our friend that because we don't want her to think that we were weak, or that we weren't, you know, that we didn't handle our business. We as Black women need to get off of that bullshit. And first thing we need to do is be honest with each other. You know what I'm saying? We need to help each other get into their feminine. If you're working like with me, when I start working on truly getting into my feminine, I pass that on to Ashley. Then I pass that on to my sister. You know, because I grew up in a household, I grew up in a household with my mom, you know, since she was in her masculine a lot, you know, and I didn't see her outside of in some aspects really getting into her feminine. So for her, she was always bumping heads with a man and having issues that I was like, Mom, if you would just did this, Daddy would have done anything in the world for you. But she felt, I don't want to do that. I shouldn't have to do it. But everybody has a lock and a key, you know, and if you don't want to sit up here and use the proper key to get in, then you can't get mad when you don't get in. Everybody wants to keep doing stuff their way, but sometimes you got to figure out what works. So once I figured out what works, and I'm saying, okay, I'm testing this out. You know, when I started dating again, I'm testing this out on a lot of different men. I'm saying, okay, this works. Okay, and then at the end of the day, I feel good about who I am, and I'm enjoying it, and I like how I feel. Then, hey, let me pass this along, you know, saying to some other people. And then they start getting their feminine, and they start realizing that, you know what, hey, yeah, this feels okay. I like this, you know, because we are bred to, hey, as girls, you are raised, you know what I'm saying, to you can do what you need to do, you can handle your own business, and you don't need no man for nothing. And a lot of stuff has been put on our shoulders, and what we need to do is tell our sisters it's okay, that we can knock all that mess off your shoulders, and it's okay to lean back on to someone else. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to be soft. It's okay, you know, to speak soft. It's okay, you know what I'm saying, to not fight about everything. It's okay to be vulnerable. That's how I think we need to start with it. We need to actually be communicating to each other, let each other know that it's okay.
And I feel like, you know, and I agree with you, Tara, where, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about being able to step back and let things happen the way they need to happen as a woman. But I can even say as an example, and I love my parents to death, and there'll be moments where my mom, my dad, you know, pissed at each other, and they walking away, my mom being in her independent swag moment, and my dad doing the same, and he walk away. But guess what? When he come home, there's food. And she in her femininity at that point. It's like, all right, you know, I'm sorry, I love you. Here's some food. Here's your socks and whatnot. And you get comfortable and you good after that. But at the end of the day, as I said, you have to know when is when. And I really believe that being in your femininity is something that's very valuable and very important for a woman. Because, you know, even in my relationship, I really have this thing where silence is golden and you just let things be. And you don't have to say much. You really don't have to say much for your guy to bend over backwards for whatever you want. And especially if he is in that same understanding as you, the mindset is gonna be the same, and he's just gonna do whatever is needed. But
nah, I'm with it. You know, we talked about, you know, the women. Let me pass it over to Rick, and I'm going to ask you the question in regards to the men. What should we be doing to the young brothers in regards to getting them back into their masculinity?
Like I say, I really feel like it's all about what we've been taught, you know, spiritually, how to deal with women, because even in our African spirituality, and even in our ancient Egyptian, ancient Kemetic spirituality. We all have those examples of divine masculinity, and it's different from what you hear in the Bible, which is just about domination and control, and the woman is beneath you, and it's because of Eve that the sons of Adam is all fucked up, and all of that type of stuff. And if you will, it kind of brings me back to that story about Thoth, who is that ancient god of wisdom, that ancient divine masculine god of wisdom, and Sekhmet, who was that female version of Ra, and she represented that crazy Kali warrior goddess type of energy. And there was a legend, aka a story. There was a story about how Sekhmet, there was some people that was on Earth that was disrespecting Ra, and so Sekhmet was sent down to deliver vengeance and to deliver justice to Ra. But she went into like this bloodthirsty rage where she just started killing everybody and killing the innocents and stuff like that. So it took Thoth, which was that god of knowledge, to come down, and he had some wine that was disguised as blood, and she went and drunk the blood thinking that it was blood, but it was really wine, and it tricked her into falling into this deep sleep. And then after she got into this deep sleep, Thoth pushed her into this pool of holy water, and when she arose, she became Basset, which is that gentle, motherly black cat, that gentle, type of goddess. And in Basset, we see that the true power of a woman is in that compassion, and that's in that divine femininity. That is the true strength of a woman, is that. So, but it took for Thoth to have that knowledge to be able to, reprogram her, because that's another thing. We have to do a mass reprogramming on both sides, the men and the women. We got to go through this mass deletion of all of the things that we think we know, all of the things that we think that we've learned, and all of this, and we have to go back to that divine essence in which we come from and start back there, because that's where that's where the balance is.
So when it comes to balance,
right,
as far as like just
can I
go
chime in?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so there's a couple things. First, the masculine and the feminine are really, the masculine is the feminine pushed out. So even a baby, all babies are feminine until the last 3 months. Either they stay feminine or they turn into a boy. So the masculine is just the feminine pushed out. So the masculine is an aspect of the feminine. Everything is the feminine at the end of the day. So that's first and foremost. And if you guys do a little more studying, you'll start to read the breadcrumbs. And that's not saying that either is better or worse. It's just like a positive and negative charge on a battery. Now, if you want to walk the middle path, you will learn how to be the neutron or the middle or the gray magician, because the gray magician is the dark and the light in one. And that's really cultivating the inner balance within ourselves. So that was the first thing I was thinking about. And so when a woman thinks she's in her masculine, she's not truly in her masculine. If it's that unbalanced, that's just her pretending to be what she thinks masculine is. But every time I seen a man that was cool, calm, and collected and really in a balanced masculine state, they wasn't throwing a tantrum and trying to gain power and control or nothing. They was chilling and everything was working just by them. Hey, I need this done over here. Hey, I need the cool, calm, and collected directing the band. So that's an unbalanced masculine is struggling for power and control. A balanced masculine is in his power and he's taking control. It's two different things. So we switch from the feminine, which is magnetic, and the masculine, which is electric, every day. I might sit and I might think that I really want like a jelly donut. Say I want a jelly donut. I really want a jelly donut right now. And my brother might come home and be like, yo, I just stopped at Dunkin' Donuts. Here, I got you a jelly donut. I'd be like, God damn, that's feminine. That's magnetism. Now, I might think, man, I really want a cup of coffee, but then I look at my cabinet and I'm out of coffee. So now I gotta go to the store to get coffee. That's me being in my masculine.
I think that's an interesting perspective. I've actually never thought about it that way, if I'm being honest. As far as like so let me make sure I'm clear. So are you saying the masculine, like if we was to put it in a scientific standpoint, where you have potential energy and you have kinetic energy, are you saying that the feminine is the potential energy and the kinetic is the masculine energy? Because the kinetic is the one that's doing the work. The potential is the thing that work can be done on.
Right. Well, the potential energy is where all possibilities exist. And then the kinetic energy is where now you're putting that, whatever you think you want to create, you already had to have the thought to want to create something, and now it's going forth in action. So yeah, basically, at the end of the day, everything is feminine because everything comes from what I call it the Great Mother. Some people call it the Triple Goddess. Some people call it chaos, but it's where all potentialities exist. Some people call it source. A lot of times I'll say source just because it's androgynous, which is really what it is. It's androgynous, the energy. Because if everything is one, then that means the energy has to be androgynous. But yet there's a cosmic womb that everybody is birthed out of, that all these souls are coming forth from. So, I mean, that's getting like way too complex with it, but essentially the masculine would just be an aspect of the feminine. And I think that as human beings, we just took the concept and we said, well, a man is masculine and a woman is feminine, when we're switching back and forth all day between both polarities, but neither of us is learning how to balance them.
And it goes back to
and
when
that's
I was
really the issue. And
it goes back to when you was talking about the positive and negative polarity. Everything that's positive is not good. Everything that's negative is not bad. If you if you go take an AIDS test and it says positive, is that good?
Heck no.
If you and your wife is trying for a child and she take the pregnancy test and it says negative, is that bad or whatever,
Yes. So, based on that example, yes, it is bad. I'm trying to knock her up. You're saying that it didn't happen. I gotta try again. Good gracious.
But yeah, I was just saying it to say that, and good and bad, male and female, the positive, negative, these are all type of things that represents, not only you got the positive and negative, which is a polarity, and then I don't know, what do you call the classification of good, evil, good, bad, male, female? I don't know what
everybody say
what
you got
you have to have a yin and a yang. Life is balance. You have to have a yin and a yang. Life is balance, so everything has to have an opposite, polarity. Everything, like when people talk about God and the devil, they're just two opposites polarity.
Absolutely.
And all depends on what you trying to pull from that day.
But see,
so
Rick already know though.
And see, if I go around saying that I'm an androgynous being, and people don't know what the word means in that type of level, if I say, yeah, I'm an androgynous being, people are like, oh, so that means you're gay. No, that doesn't mean I'm gay.
I really did that one day,
You did?
I really walked around telling people, yeah, I do little social experiments from time to time. I just do little weird shit for fun. But I really was like, one day, I was like, anybody I meet today, I'm going to just tell them I'm androgynous. Or I tell them I'm a being of a divine order. Like, I just say some old crazy shit just to see how people will react to it.
Man, people would freaking... I told Rick this and Lexi not too long ago. I was like, do you know if Jesus was to come back, people would be terrified. They'd try to kill that asshole.
Exactly.
They'd be like, yo, Who the heck is this dude
If
running
Jesus
around talking
came
about
back, he might act just like us.
Right. Yo, listen, people, because at the end of the day, stuff sounds good until it's time to actually put something in practice. It's easy to say that,
why,
hey, you know, I believe in this, I believe in that. But then if something physically manifests itself, it's like, whoa, what's this? This is some old spooky stuff. I don't know nothing about nothing when it comes to this. This dude is walking on water. He gotta be the devil. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Because you've never seen it with your own eyes.
People be out here stoning him all over again.
Exactly, but again though, it's going back to that balance though, because people still don't quite get it. You know, I wrote something years ago where I was like, did you get that? God and devil be the same cats a note that they equal out in the same match? It was like, yo, why would you even say that?
One for yourself.
Oh, yeah, hold on, we gotta.
Don't bring his ego.
Yo, yeah. but the thing was that was real, and I'll never forget the first time I spit that in public. You had some people was like, yo, that was hard. And you had other cats was like, yo, why would you even say that? And I'm like, yo, you're sitting here like, you have people who believe that that God is the most good and the devil is the most evil. And in some ways I can understand why they would say that. But then I have to ask, that's a fact. But then I have to ask, okay, well, let's ask this question. If we believe that God created the devil, wouldn't that also make him the most evil and most good? And that's the part that people don't really want to talk about, because that's the spooky part.
Why do they call Jesus and Lucifer the morning star?
That's actually a reference to Venus, but you know, you got to study occultism to know that.
Yeah, we're not gonna get too deep in this show when it comes to astrology, because that's something else. Because Rick already know if we had this conversation, we're gonna be on here for another 2 hours. And we don't got that much time.
It'll be like 6 hours.
but again though, going back to the relationship side of things, it's all about finding that balance. And one of the things that was said earlier was, one, each party has to do the inner work for themselves.
Exactly.
And while working on yourself, because once you've mastered yourself, now you're dealing with two people who have mastered themselves. So when they come together and they create this entity that I call the house, now they can master it. But you can't come to something like, if you're only at 80 and this person is at 100, and that means that you're always operating on 80 until you elevate to that 100. And that's when you being able to work with one another, saying, okay, listen, I see that this is where your flaws is at, so let me help you with this one. You see that this is where my flaws is at, can you help me with this? And then now that way we're both operating at 100, because going back to the original thing where I asked, do 50-50 relationships work? I would say no, because 50% is failure. Everybody needs to be at 100% at all times.
50 on your report card, that's a
one
F.
time. You got to give yourself one time again.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
You know what? I'm gonna have to come over to your house.
I like her. I like her because she with it. but I mean, that's real. That's real talk. And I think that's the part that people miss. They forget about what they need to do in regards to themselves. And when you've mastered yourself, it's easy for you to help build someone else. Or not even so much build them, but fine tune them, because the diamond is already there. You just kind of polishing it at that point. But you have to be able to recognize that that's what you're holding. If you don't know what it is, you're just going to toss it thinking it's some other rock and go play in the sand, thinking that the sand is the value. That's not the value. The value is the diamond that you just put back. So that's just kind of my take on it.
The sand just all the sand is doing is getting rid of the stone so you can see the jewel, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to go to Isabel. Final remarks.
Man, I just really appreciate you having me on. I think that it's very rare to find other beings that are able to really hold a conversation and come to a conclusion. I think the way we did this was very healthy, honestly. And the most important, what I would want to say to just the people, like, the most important relationship that you can cultivate is the relationship with yourself.
Heavy.
Person.
Go ahead and with the pump again. But yeah, I'm definitely with that. You know, where can people find you at?
You can find me at Empress_9 NIN and then 9 the number on Instagram, and the THEE EmpressIsabel.com. That's my website.
All right, perfect. So we got Tara back in. We actually doing final remarks. Is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
I guess the only thing I want to say is that I think that we as African American women need to start doing things a little differently so we can get different results, because right now our community is truly suffering, and we are suffering most of all because we're not, finding mates the way we need to find mates, and maybe we need to change some of the ways that we move, so that we can get happy, healthy relationships.
All right, perfect. Where can people find you at?
I'm at Real Estate on Instagram. I'm at Real Estate Queen 47 on Facebook. You can find me at Tara Gray.
All right, there it is. Let's go to KeyRocks. Final remarks.
I just think honestly we need to be able to understand us first, work with us, gain our mental stability as women, and stop playing into the game that society is portraying nowadays, and just be in your natural self.
Cool. Where can people find you at?
You can find me on Instagram at KeyRock92, or you can also check out our YouTube page, AG Family Adventures, or if you want to check out my personal one, you could go to Live, Laugh, and Love with Lex. Yeah.
All right, there it is. Now we gotta go to the man over here. My boy, we are Freeman.
The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result. Because when you know better, you can grow better, which means that you can show better. Because our melanated race, we're kings and queens.
Right.
And it gets no better.
Hallelujah.
Drop the mic.
Pastor Rick in the house. Yeah.
He had to give us some church up in here. All right. Where can people find you at?
You can find me on YouTube, Mr. Bandclap. You can also find me on Instagram, Bandclap TV, Facebook, Bandclap TV, also Instagram, Melly Amar, shop Melly Amar, that's ShopMeliAmar. That's my jewelry and gemstones and apparel company. And also you can follow me on Snapchat too, Bandclap TV.
Hey, and once again, I have been your host tonight, the Godfather Tank D. You can find me everywhere at Godfather_Tank D. And once again, I appreciate you guys for listening to this podcast tonight. And we're just going to ride out.